Have you ever watched a channel like Adult Swim late into the night, like half asleep, and they play one of those infomercial shorts that completely take you off guard? Sometimes it's something quick and you can tell it's a joke. Sometimes it's a full program, like this house has people in it or too many cooks. They can be funny, they can be creepy, but you always realize after a while that it's all in good fun, and it was clearly something meant to confuse and creep out potheads watching late at night. But a couple days ago, damn, I can't even point out the exact date, it's just so surreal, I witnessed a program on Adult Swim that definitely felt like one of these shorts. I was really out of it. It was like 3 in the morning, so I was really tired, but a lot of things stuck out to me about it. I was watching some Samurai Jack rerun late into the night, and during the bumper, I remember the music cutting out for a bit and the screen going dark. Thinking my shitty cable was acting up again, I began to groggily walk up to my TV when I noticed something fading in. There was a clearly chroma keyed scanline overlay over the whole video, and the audio quality was pretty bad. It didn't look like a professional production. It wasn't something like unedited footage or This House, where the effects actually looked real. I was taken aback a bit by the program, as it didn't look like anything I'd seen on the network before. Most of my memory of the broadcast is a blur, but there were some distinct things about it that stuck out to me. It was live action, as most of these surprise broadcasts are. The entire thing was done from one camera angle. I remember there being a total of 5 people. No distinct features. They all had names, but I can't remember. The broadcast was about 10 minutes of a shot of the living room of these people. They all were sat down, watching the camera as if it was their TV. I could hear the sound of the second half of the Samurai Jack episode I was watching in the background. I would have been jealous that they were watching the episode I wasn't, but I was too tired to care. Thinking I might be watching some sort of new short film from Alan Resnick or something, though the lack of quality surely didn't support the idea compared to his other work, I sat myself up in my couch and attentively paid attention to what I assumed someone else would record and upload on YouTube tomorrow. If I knew any better, I would have quickly grabbed my capture card, connected it to my TV box, and uploaded the entire thing. The family discussed various things. It was very casual for the most part, which made me question what I was seeing. After around 7 minutes of monotony, I considered just going back to sleep, writing it off as a prank, Adult Swim just blue-balling avid Samurai Jack fans. But then things started to happen. People started leaving the couch, excusing themselves for a bathroom break or other reasons. By minute 8, the entire group was away from the couch. Around a half minute later, the silhouette of a man began to fade in the corner of the screen. I didn't notice it at first because I was so tired, and it startled me when I looked to the corner of my screen and saw it. It was the silhouette of a man, but you couldn't see any of him, and static replaced where his body would be, almost as if he was cut out of the picture and replaced with a crappy GIF of TV static. He was standing behind the couch in the corner of the room facing directly towards the camera. After about 30 seconds of feeling unnerved by this, the sounds of yelling voices slowly faded in, and 2 of the people from earlier ran in from the right side. Both were women, one of them wielding an axe. I was very awake now, so I could remember this part perfectly. The fizzly gray figure turned its position toward the yelling girls. The one wielding the axe looked furious. She was screaming something hard to make out. The other was much younger. She looked scared and just whimpering in response. The thing I made out were things like, "You did it?" or "You killed him, you bastard!" Stuff like that. It was clear she was furious at the younger girl. Another person ran in, a boy. He tried to restrain her, but before he could, the woman lifted the axe as the younger girl flinched, and she brought it down on her, as the Samurai Jack credits could clearly be heard playing in the background. I almost laughed. The axe hit the girl the moment the "Watcha" sound effect played. I was now very confused, but I just wrote it off as an edgy short film that somehow got into Adult Swim. The gore looked really realistic though. The axe split the woman's head right down the middle. She began to jolt around in an almost seizure-like fashion as the other characters ran in and retained the angry woman. After about a minute of chaos and other people pinning the furious woman on the ground, the screen went black again and began to play regularly scheduled programming again. I shrugged this off as a crappy short film and fell asleep after a minute of me pondering what I just saw. The next day, I woke up and looked to see if anyone else had seen the broadcast on social media. I was surprised to see no mention of it. I would figure the people I follow to either be talking about it or even just laughing about it, but I saw no mention. I texted a few people about it, and I was told they fell asleep for the time it aired. At this point, I was frustrated. I checked Adult Swim's social media, I asked around a lot, I could find nothing about this broadcast. I was beginning to get creeped out by this, and after about a week of hearing nothing about it, I woke to the sound of sirens about a block away. I walked down to where the noise was coming from and saw Excel Energy and some firefighters using a ladder to climb one of those large posts, not a cable tower, but just something to keep the wires off the ground. I walked up to a firefighter watching the guy work on whatever they were fixing. I asked why people were here. Someone cruelly connected their laptop to this thing like a week ago and broadcast some weird shit all over this town apparently. No one we've talked to seems to have been awake to see what played, but all the files seem to have been encrypted though. Anyways, that guy's just removing all the wiring the guy left behind. I paused for a second, trying to remember if the Adult Swim logo was in the bottom right corner of that supposed short. I don't think it was. But I didn't say anything, I just walked back to my house. I had a headache. I decided to skim through the newspaper from last week to check one more time if anything about the weird-ass broadcast was brought up. My blood ran cold as my gaze crossed a particularly intriguing news article. One woman murdered during get-together. Connection to husband murder case. Yes, there were 5 people at the get-together. I need to sleep. I didn't say anything to the police, I'm just too scared and unnerved right now. Updates. A lot of people were talking about how I said I'm tired like 7 times throughout the story. And yeah, I'm sorry about that. I've been in a bit of a slump ever since around a month ago. In my depressed state, I've been constantly feeling exhausted or tired. It's hard, but I'm trying to deal with it. Anyways, a friend actually ended up contacting me, saying he had seen and taped the broadcast. Something that I should have done. His name is Randall, I call him Randy. We go way back, all the way to the 2nd grade. We've actually lived in this neighborhood since forever. We hadn't hung out as much lately, that's mostly my fault, but I head down to his house anyways. If he had a tape of the event, I wanted to make my own, and then turn one copy over to the police. Although, that's only if I decided to talk to the police at all. A part of me wants to know what happened, but another just wants to stay out of it. I don't need my life to be a movie. Anyways, I drove down to his house. I could have just walked, but I didn't want to because, well, you know. I rang the doorbell, and he answered the door. "Come in and shut the door behind you, please. I'm wicked hungover," he said. I laughed a bit. I walked into the house. He left the lights off, not helping my paranoia, but the meeting was very brief. He seemed rather off, however. I wrote this off as the effects of his hangover. He was rather monotone and quiet, but I can't blame him. He unexpectedly saw what could potentially be a real murder in the middle of the night. I brought the tape home after checking that it was actually what I saw at his house, and got to work on copying the tape. The 2 VCRs I used for doing so hadn't been touched since I was a teen. Static electricity gave me a huge shock as I touched the thing. I inserted the tape. The tape showed the first half of the Samurai Jack episode. The bumper came up, and... what? The tape ended. Which shouldn't have happened seeing as me and Randy checked it. It wasn't like it showed the first few seconds or anything, and that's all we checked. No, it stopped the moment the bumper cut to darkness. I was furious, but at the same time just plain confused. I tried the other VHS player. I tried buying a new cheap one for less at the thrift shop, but all I got for trying was painfully learning that player doesn't read the screeching signal that tells most VHS players the tape should be over correctly. Instead, it actually plays it. That was not fun for my ears. I tried calling Randy, but all I got was his voicemail. I went back to his house, infuriated, but His door was locked and his car was nowhere to be seen. Just today, I got a phone call from him. I picked it up. Randy was on the other line, but he was talking in a more firm and tough tone than I had ever heard him talk to anyone in. He wasn't one to be like this. He was usually a pretty nice and happy guy. "Are you calmed down now?" he said the moment I picked up the phone. It sent a shiver down my spine. "Don't go digging your nose too hard into this thing, alright? I saw some shit the past few days after you left." I tried to ask him about what the hell was going on, but I heard his voice crack on the other side and he went back to his normal voice. "I'm sorry, man. Just stay away from this as much as possible. It's not directed at you. Keep it that way." Dude, what happened? There was a moment of silence. After a while, I faintly heard him whisper on the other side. He spoke to me. He hung up. I haven't been able to get in contact with him the past few days. I'm very panicked. I don't want something bad to happen to him, but from the way he was speaking, it sounds like something already has.